Here we're standing here at the Matzeva, at the kever of the ha-Chozeh MiLublin, the Seer of Lublin, Rabbi Isaac Horowitz. He was born in 1745, according to some 1747, and was actually nifter on Tisha B'Av 1815. And we'll explain how that happened. After the death of the Maggid of Mezrich, so the leadership of Polish Chasidus passed through Rabbi Milozhensk, and then to his primary disciple, the ha-Chozeh, Rabbi Isaac Horowitz. Now, the ha-Chozeh was what is called a corrective counter-revolution within Chasidus. You see, Chasidus was a revolution, so it had the freshness, it had the feeling of newness and revolution. However, as soon as it becomes institutionalized, then it sort of it runs against itself, then it sort of defeats its own purpose. So throughout the history of Chasidus, there were always counter-revolutions to sort of mitigate whatever institutionalization there was within the Chasidus. And that's what the ha-Chozeh did. Actually, the ha-Chozeh did something very interesting, and that is, even during the lifetime of Rabbi Milozhensk, the ha-Chozeh already set up his own court, which was somewhat revolutionary, and he was criticized for that. But that's the derech of Polish Chasidus, to sort of expand and always look for new meaning. What is Chasidus? As soon as Chasidus is a certain hierarchy and institution, so then it's not what it is anymore. Well, the ha-Chozeh, upon the death of Rabbi Milozhensk, became the leader of Polish Chasidus in the 18th century. He was the leader of what we said the corrective measure, and as the most brilliant student, his namesake, so now he has a Talmud. So Rabbi Isaac Horowitz has a Talmud. His name is Rabbi Isaac of Shischa, the Yid HaKadosh. So really, basically what happened is what Rabbi Isaac Horowitz, the ha-Chozeh, did to Rabbi Milozhensk, the Yid HaKadosh did to the ha-Chozeh, because now the Yid HaKadosh also sets up his own court in the lifetime of the ha-Chozeh MiLublin, and he still was loyal to the ha-Chozeh, but nevertheless, this is the derech. The derech is Chasidus has to be new and fresh. So the ha-Chozeh was born in Shavrashin, near Lublin, and he was a descendant of the Shlach HaKadosh. He was a student of the Maggid, he was a student of Shmelko Nikolsburg, he was a student of Rabbi Milozhensk, and he also learned by Rabbi Yitzchak of Arditchev. In fact, look in the Tfar Shloima and Parshas Kisavai, that for the 16 years that Rabbi Yitzchak was the teacher of Rabbi Isaac Horowitz, every day the ha-Chozeh MiLublin would wake up and thank Hashem for an hour that he sent Rabbi Yitzchak of Arditchev down to the world. Yeah, in the Haskama of the Sefer Tzayin Kadashim, which was given by the ha-Chozeh MiLublin to the Sefer Tzayin Kadashim, the ha-Chozeh said that his whole life he wanted to write a perush on Kachim, because he felt that learning Kachim was a very important miktsaya in Torah. After all, one who learns the laws of sacrificial parts of Kachim, it's keilu they brought Kachim. However, says the ha-Chozeh MiLublin, I'm greatly immersed in the responsibility of Tircha de Tzibura. Yidden come to me who need advice, they need my tefillos, and I can't push them away because God has given me ability to help out Yidden. So I always wanted to write a sefer like this on my own. I couldn't, so at the very least I could recommend a sefer like this. In Shalos Teshuvas Avnei Nezer, Choshen Mishpat Siman Kuf Tezvav, he talks about the esrog of Corfu, the Corfu esrog. And the Jews in Poland used the Corfu esrog based on what there was a chash, maybe it's a morkov, maybe it's a grafted esrog, but they relied on the fact that the ha-Chozeh MiLublin praised the Corfu esrog. Says the Avnei Nezer, we were just by the Avnei Nezer's kever, that if the ha-Chozeh MiLublin used it, that means he saw Baruch HaKodesh, that it's a good esrog, and this is something that you could rely on the Chachila. However, there may have been another reason, and a reason which would make it not so sturdy to rely on why the ha-Chozeh MiLublin praised the Corfu esrog. And that is, interestingly, the ha-Chozeh MiLublin was an einikol of the Bach. Be'ezras Hashem, tomorrow we're going to read about the kever of the Bach. The Bach held, we'll see in a moment, that Polish Jews were not makbid on Chadash. Why were they not makbid on Chadash? Because the Bach held that Chadash and Chutz La'aretz is mutter. Therefore, in Poland, they relied on the Bach. But it could be that's why the ha-Chozeh was not makbid on the korfu esrog. Not that the ha-Chozeh held the korfu esrog wasn't a morkav, but because the Bach holds we don't have to worry about morkav. The Bach shita is that a morkav is kosher, so that's why the ha-Chozeh relied on his on his predecessor. However, we argue on the Bach, and therefore that would sort of make the reliance on the korfu esrog somewhat questionable. Okay, the ha-Chozeh MiLublin would say as follows: anyone who never learned 6 consecutive hours never tasted true fear of God. Let's just end with one sharfa vart that the ha-Chozeh MiLublin said. Chazal tell us sometimes it says Moshe before Aaron and sometimes it says Aaron before Moshe, l'lameh, to teach sheshkulanhin, that they're equal. So the ha-Chozeh would ask, how could any 2 people be equal? You can never say that 2 people are exactly equal. There's a rule, kishem she'ein partzufein shavos. It's the same way no 2 people have the same face. Kachein deosein shavos. No 2 people have the same attitudes and mindset. You can't say that 2 people are equal. You know, there's a rule. Ef sharlet samsem. How could 2 people be exactly the same? But the truth is, Chazal say that while Avraham Avinu was a great humble man, he said, "V'anochi afar v'efer," and David was very humble. He said, "V'anochi toilas v'layish." Moshe and Aaron were the most humble because they said, "V'nachnu ma." What are we? When you're dealing with davar sheyesh by mamish, when you're dealing with something, some things can never be equal. But when you're dealing with nothing, nothing could be equal. Moshe and Aaron were on such a level on Ivos, they said, "V'anachnu ma," what are we? Because they were because they held themselves as nothing, therefore, that's what Chazal mean, that they were equal, that they were on the epitome of humility. This was the understanding of the ha-Chozeh MiLublin. The ha-Chozeh MiLublin's home was open to everyone, and he endeavored to personally serve his guests. So he not only would serve food to the people, he would clear off the spoons and clear off the plates. So they asked, you have to clear off also? He said, yes, clearing off is also a mitzvah. Did the Kohen Gadol and the Kodesh HaKadoshim say, I brought the spoon in, I don't need to clear off? The avodah was clearing off. So too when I serve people, not just serving them, but clearing off is also a great mitzvah. On Tisha B'Av, after saying Kriya Shema with tremendous hislahavos, he returned his neshama to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Our Rishonim tell us that when you say Shema, you're supposed to be mechavein, that at that moment you would make the ultimate sacrifice to give up your life al Kiddush Hashem. Well, he was, at the moment of Shema on Tisha B'Av, he gave up his neshama al Kiddush Hashem at 68 years old. Gematria Chayim. Chayim is 68. Tzadikim b'misasan kruyim Chayim. May he be a male tziyosher for all of us.